Whether you drive a car,
need a car,
or just occasionally bum a ride with friends,
you've come to the right place.
Join Jill and Tom as they break down everything that's going on in the auto world.
New car reviews,
Shopping tips,
driving green,
electric cars,
classic cars,
and plenty of great guests.
This is the Consumer Guide Car Stuff Podcast.
All right, this is the Car Stuff Podcast, and I am Tom Appel. Thanks for joining us today. When you have a moment, when you have a chance, do me a huge solid. Check us out at consumerguide.com. That's consumerguide.com. While you're there, check out our 2024 Best Buy picks. If you are looking for a new car or truck, or know someone looking for a new car or truck, have them check out this list. Also, you can listen to back episodes of the podcast right there on our homepage, though I strongly encourage you to just subscribe to the podcast. You can find it anywhere. All right. She is the head mechanic and assistant saucier at Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk.
You've just given up on my time.
I have. Yeah, you are North American. You are a North American Car of the Year juror,
yes.
And your freelance work is found many places.
Yes.
How are you, Jill?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
I'm a little weirded out because a piece of eclipse fell on my test car today.
Okay.
I wasn't looking up, but something hit the car. I'm sure it's from the moon or something.
Oh, I'm sure it's a moon rock. Yep.
At peak. Palatine, Illinois, at peak eclipse activity. Do you know where I was?
I do, but you should tell everybody else.
I was buying donuts.
I was at a Starbucks right down the street from where you were buying donuts.
Also, the young lady working at the donut shop did not give a hoot about the hilarious thing, and I only caught a corner of it, and I don't want to get in too much trouble, but Tom Skilling, you know who Tom Skilling is.
Yep.
Chicago's legendary weatherman, nicest guy on the planet. I've met him 3 or 4 times, just handshakes. He doesn't know who I am. I'm not name dropping. I've met him and he's nice. I'm at Spunky Dunkers, and they've got a big screen going, and the news is on Channel 9, WGN TV, where they are covering with massive effort the eclipse.
Okay.
And Tom Skilling is talking to a family that seems a little too smiley for my liking, and they explain that they're Scientologists.
Oh.
And I don't know what Scientology and the eclipse have to do with each other.
Okay.
But I'm sure Tom Skilling is like, I should have stayed retired.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll be honest with you. Like I noticed it the sun was a little bit weird because we were only at like 93% of totality here in the Palatine area.
That sounds
Chicago
so dire.
Area. It really does. But I didn't.
If I looked at a chart that said 93 totality, next to it should say you die.
Yes, exactly.
It sounds horrible.
It sounds horrible.
Yeah.
But it was still very bright outside. It didn't even really get twilighty. Like the light seemed filtered. But it didn't seem that different to me.
My wife noticed multiple shadows on the ground.
Okay.
So we got some pictures of those. Maybe I'll share those. I don't know. We got to see if they look good.
Yeah.
We made a mistake last week.
I made a mistake last week.
We were talking about the Ford Mustang.
Yes.
We'll run with it.
I said it had a 6-cylinder engine, and it was, brain fart, 4-cylinder.
Yeah, the base car is it's actually called the EcoBoost.
Yeah.
And it's the EcoBoost 2.3-liter turbocharged inline 4.
Yeah, which is really, really good.
Yeah, 315 big horsepower.
Still doesn't come with a manual transmission, though.
No manual.
Which I thought was depressing because I think that powertrain with a manual would be very lovely.
Now, in defense of your brain fart, it is very normal for me historically to consider the base Mustang the V6.
Right.
Because it was that
for so long. I know, and that's just, where my brain goes. So, yeah.
That was the base car. All right, we got that out of the way. Later in the show, I'm very excited. We have Greg Clark from Ineos Americas on the show. I don't know if a lot of people know what Ineos is, but if we're talking about startup companies, this is one that's not going to fail. And we'll talk about why later.
Okay.
But they do not want for money.
Right.
Ineos does not want for money. They're bringing a vehicle to the U.S. It is an homage to the Land Rover Defender.
Yes.
And you're thinking there is a Defender, but the Defender doesn't look like the Defender.
It does not.
And I think that's where we're going to get the whole story.
Yes, we are.
It's a good story. We have some news I want to get to real quick. The Tesla Model 2. The
No mas.
Yeah.
No mas.
The cheap Tesla, not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
We need to have Sam Fiorani back on the show. We need to schedule him. Usually we have Sam fill in gaps on the program, but we need to have him on the show as a regular guest to talk a little bit about this. Tesla had big plans to build a $25,000 car. No way that was going to happen.
Never.
But the last time we spoke to Sam on the show, he said regarding Tesla and their profitability, welcome to the real world.
Yeah.
Or welcome to the auto business,
Yeah,
what I think
welcome.
he said.
Yeah,
but
welcome
their
to the auto
margins...
industry.
Their margins have taken a wallop because they have lowered prices in order to maintain market share. So there isn't money. There isn't the big money to be made for Tesla anymore. And there certainly isn't money to be made on a $25,000 EV.
No.
So that's not going to happen. They're talking about building a ride-hailing car,
Right.
a driverless ride-hailing car. We'll see. And they're going to reveal that later in the year.
And then we'll see it 20 years from now.
That's not going to do any kind of volume like a $25,000 car would. So very interesting piece of news there. And then the plant that we're going to build in Monterrey, Mexico, I think we can just forget about that.
Say no. Well, so you also saw the news recently, Automotive News, and Jamie Butters, the editor there, they declared
I'm going to call Jamie my friend. We haven't met yet, and he hasn't been on the show yet, but in anticipation of having him on the show.
He's my actual friend.
Oh.
Sorry.
Yeah. My friend Jamie.
We talk running.
Oh.
I know, right?
Oh, you've just ruined this for me.
I know. I'm so sorry. He's so cool.
Oh.
But he...
Does he watch Gunsmoke?
Probably not.
That would make him really cool. All right.
Running and Gunsmoke. But
just Gunsmoke.
they did a recent... he did an article or a column about
yes,
downgrading Tesla from a luxury automaker to a mainstream brand.
I wouldn't say downgrading. It's a reclassification.
Okay.
And a lot of it had to do with the fact that all their volume is now in more affordable vehicles that are not luxury.
Right.
He recently spoke with Tyson Jominy.
Yep.
And you heard that interview?
Yep.
Great interview.
It really is.
And Tyson Jominy's with JD Power. And
Yeah.
they were talking specifically about things like $105,000 Jeep Wranglers.
Yes.
The last of the V8 Wranglers.
Yeah.
And he made the point that that vehicle is not a luxury vehicle, but it's a luxury purchase.
Right.
You got to be rich to buy that.
Yep.
Why would you do that otherwise? So, yeah, one of the things, Jamie's going to be on the show, and one of the things we're going to talk about is about Tesla.
Yep.
And the fact that a lot of their vehicles really are a bit sterile.
Yeah.
And not especially luxurious. And they're not expensive anymore. They're less expensive.
Yes.
Much closer to mainstream. So, yes, good point. Another piece of news, and you probably followed this one, also from Automotive News, from the Automotive News data center, as they like to call it. Big pickup truck sales are way off in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Way off. Ford down 10%, Ram down 15%.
I was like stunned to see Ford down 10%.
Yeah, and GM up slightly.
Yeah.
But the GM up slightly is mostly heavy-duty models.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that says about the economy.
No, but you know what one of the biggest sellers were, and I can't remember because we did a story on this on Pickup Truck plus SUV Talk. I can't remember what the biggest
where
the
you are the
percentage was.
assistant saucier.
Where I'm the assistant saucier, or sommelier. Could I be a sommelier instead?
Can you be?
Maybe.
It takes qualifications. I couldn't.
I can pretend.
I couldn't fake my way through a wine conversation.
Oh, I totally could. But no, we did the Nissan Frontier. That was a huge surprise because that was like up by a lot year over year.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so midsize pickup truck, and you know, if you follow along, you know, they did. This is the last year for the Titan, and but the Nissan
is that still out there?
It is still out there. It's like last gasping. But no, I mean the Frontier, which was redesigned, I want to say in 2019.
I like the Frontier. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah. So it's one of the oldest of the new midsize trucks right now, but it sells. I want to say it was like 20% or 28%. It was up a lot.
I wonder if there is some Tacoma pricing backlash.
Could be.
Because Tacoma's very expensive.
Yeah.
They raise prices a lot, and they raise their prices a lot based on demand.
Yeah.
And they're probably going to get that money. But
Yeah.
there are going to be some people backing away. If Toyota sells a few less vehicles for a lot more money, they're going to be pretty happy about that.
Yeah. Well.
And if Nissan picks up a couple of...
Yeah. They'll also be happy.
Yeah.
But with Ford and Chevrolet, I mean, they've had some production problems. You know, the 2024 models of the F-150, I don't think they're out yet. And so there have just been some production issues. And so I think that's why we saw Ford sales drop. is because of the fact that they're just now, and then like you look at the midsize trucks, and the Ranger isn't out yet. So people, I think, are just waiting for these 2024 models to come out, and they're just not there yet.
Yeah, to your point, this may mean nothing.
Yeah.
This is just a weird, anomalous first quarter.
I think it's anomalous, but I think a lot of it has to do with 2024 F-150 was redesigned, but people can't get their hands on it.
There is a thing, and people who predict economic activity often will look at not F-150, but half-ton pickup truck sales as a leading economic indicator.
Right.
And if they start to decline, a lot of people believe the economy will eventually decline. These are people, because so many of these are put to use to work.
Yeah.
So
I don't think that's what we're seeing here.
Okay.
I mean, just from I just think that there are some very good explanations for why sales of specific trucks are down right now. I think if everything was down across the board, then I would be a little bit more worried. But I think, there's an explanation for why these things are down.
Things go deep. And I don't want to get into this right now because you've got a car you want to talk about. But a really interesting point to be made is General Motors sales were down in the first quarter.
Right.
Sounds like bad news. But in fact, their fleet sales were way down and their retail sales were way up.
Right.
So while those numbers don't impress immediately, they're making way more money.
Yeah.
So it sounds like bad news, but fleet sales are always dangerous.
Yeah.
And like Nissan right now is dumping a lot of vehicles into fleet, and that's always dangerous.
Right.
And we used to see Kia and Hyundai do that a few years ago. Bad news, because it's bad for resale values. It makes people think the cars are too common. It's not good.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
You drove
I
a
did.
car we never talk about.
No.
A brand we don't normally talk about. And I think it's a brand that's not on a lot of people's radar, but do tell.
Yeah, so I'm driving the Alfa Romeo Stelvio Quadrifoglio.
Look at you.
That is a mouthful. And I have
look at you. And what's that color? Because it's crazy.
What is the exact color?
Oh, wait. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to throw you out.
Yeah, I'm like, it's very lovely green.
I can't read this.
Oh. Where is it at?
Upper right, probably. Upper left. I'm sorry.
I'm like trying to see where the color is. I don't see it
it's
on here,
something
actually.
verde.
Yeah, I don't see it on here.
All right,
Wait. Here it is. Yeah, I think it's just Verde Montreal. Tri-coat exterior paint. I think that's what it says.
Yeah, that wildly undersells the intensity of that color.
It is like Kelly green to the extreme, and it is lovely. And so I have to tell you, I went to Starbucks to wait out the eclipse. Just wanted to make sure I got up here in plenty of time because...
I'd like to point out, you always talk about going to lunch with me, and instead you hang around at Starbucks for 2 hours.
Well, I just didn't. I didn't think about it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I didn't have time today anyway.
Well,
so
whatever.
There.
But so I got up here and was just making like at 2:45 was making the drive over here, and I'm sitting at a light, and I get a beep beep. Beep, beep, beep. And I'm like looking around. I'm like, what did I do? And these two women in the vehicle next to me, they're like, they do the symbol to roll down your window because, you still crank your windows down. So
Jay Leno once talked about the fact that he still does the rotary phone thing.
Right.
Call.
Right. And so I look over at them and I roll down my window and they're like, nice car. And they're giving me like 2 thumbs up. I've never had women tell me I'm driving a nice car. Never.
I don't think I have either. Although I have largely my opinion of people who will yell at you in traffic are not people you want to spend a lot of time with.
That would be true.
Yeah.
But these women seemed very lovely, and they were super excited. They're like, this is amazing. It's beautiful. And I was like...
Were they cute? I'm asking because I get into that car next, and any attention I can get, I welcome.
They're going to be sorely disappointed, maybe, like that I'm not in the car. I don't know. But no. So
who's that guy?
Who's that guy driving that cool car? We just saw this cute little girl driving it the other day. But no. So all of that is to say, like very randomly, like occasionally we drive these cars that get noticed, and it has been a long time since I've had somebody honk at me in at a stoplight and tell me that I'm driving a nice car. And so this is just one of those very eye-catching cars. The design is amazing. The engine, I want to say it's 505 horsepower. It's a twin turbo V6.
Yeah, 2.9 liter twin turbo V6. 505 horsepower is a lot to get out of 3 liters.
Yeah, and this is like a very well-balanced car.
2.9 liters? 2.9
I think
liters.
it's 2.9.
Yeah. And
many moons ago, I took this vehicle out on the racetrack, and I was passing Corvettes, and everybody's like, what in the hell is that? Because, I mean, it's fast, it's fun, it handles corners really well. I drove down to Indianapolis this weekend. The seats were comfortable for 3 hours. It's just a very spirited, lovely driving, small SUV that I don't know. It's like, I had a blast in this car. I think it's very eye-catching as well.
Yeah, there are only 3 vehicles in the current Alfa Romeo lineup. There's the Tonale, which I think we have different opinions on.
We do.
I think it's an imposter as an Alfa Romeo. There's the Giulia,
right,
which is a delightful sedan.
Yes.
Which is available at the same drivetrains as the Stelvio, the compact crossover. And the Stelvio, relatively roomy, real Alfa Romeo, real Alfa Romeo bits, available with a 2-liter engine, much more affordable, still pretty cool. Or this over-the-top Quadrifoglio.
Yes, OTT.
Quadrifoglio, is that how you say it?
I said Quadrifoglio.
Okay, I get corrected on this every time I say it.
I don't know if I'm saying it right or not, but I think the G is
We'll just call it the Quaddy.
Yeah, the Quaddy.
The Quaddy.
Yeah, or, the what is it, the 4-leaf clover? Spoiler alert, I just put on my TikTok, what am I driving this week? So if you guys follow me on TikTok, you will already know what I'm driving. But I've been doing, like, these things where I'll just show little pieces of the car and just have people guess what I'm driving. So,
Alfa does those great wheels, too.
Oh, my God.
The very large.
Yeah.
They look like some sort of 70s interpretation of lunar art. And actually, if you remember the 928, the Porsche 928 from the late 70s, had similar wheels. It's a great look, and it's very distinct.
I do not remember that, but yes.
You need to look.
Okay.
Because the 928, absolutely a fashion statement. Really incredible design. And it was the first, the first front-engine Porsche.
Okay. Yeah.
So an important car.
But I think that the Stelvio is great. I will say, as a shorter person driving it, I do have a couple of challenges in that I have a big blind spot out of the driver's side because of the steep rake of the A-pillar and the mirror. It kind of creates a little bit of a blind spot as I come up to a 4-way stop. And it has sports seats, which are comfortable once you get in them, but the bolsters are so high, I kind of have to, do this weird, crouch to get in because I have to go over the bolster but duck my head enough so I don't hit my head going in the door. But I think that was a me problem. So
this is really an alternative to the BMW X3M. Really. And I think in terms of price, it's where it lands, too.
Yeah.
This thing's $93K. That paint job is $2,200. There's some option on here that's $700. It seems so small compared to the other stuff, and it's got the big sunroof.
Yeah.
But heck of a nice car. I'm going to drive it next week.
Yes.
So it's still going to smell like you when I get into it.
I'm sorry for that.
But it's not, because the company that delivers those vehicles makes everything smell like Windex.
Yeah, you're going to have to deal with my happy perfume. It'll make you happy.
So sum up this vehicle, and who is it for?
I think who is it for? Now you're throwing me for a loop again. I think that this is a very sporty vehicle. It's for somebody who wants something that's fun to drive but needs a little bit more space in the back for golf clubs, luggage, whatever. I think it has the potential to be a family car as long as your kids aren't too big. And I think that Alfa Romeo is probably targeting, at least with the regular Stelvio, I think they would probably be targeting more women. But I think this Quadrifoglio levels up, and it's definitely more of a, I would say male-female car.
Do I know a secret?
Sure.
If you like this vehicle and you're disappointed in the rear seat room, the Maserati Grecale is basically this vehicle at a longer wheelbase.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's basically the same vehicle.
Okay.
So, and I have not driven that vehicle. Have you driven the Grecale?
I have not.
Good looking thing. All right. I think that's the stuff. So you like the vehicle?
I liked it.
You like the green? Would you pay $2,200 for the green?
I might, because that is an eye-catching color.
I need to know. We need to get someone on here, maybe from Cox Automotive, to talk about the impact of color on resale value. Because that color is absolutely going to draw some people and totally turn some people off.
Yeah. Well, I actually wrote a story for, I feel like it was for Capital One Automotive, because my freelance work is found all over the internet.
All over the internet.
About the effects of color on resale. And they say that in vehicles like the Corvette or the Mustang or, some of the more specialty vehicles, the more unusual colors absolutely help with resale. But when you get into something like one of the colors they pointed out, the GV60 from Genesis, it had that kind of fluorescent yellow-green putrid color. They're like, that is not going to help that car at all in resale.
The Volkswagen Corrado, which was the replacement for the Scirocco, was first built with a supercharged four-cylinder engine that turned out to be kind of a dud. But the last couple of years, it was available with a famous VR6, the Volkswagen's famous VR6, and in yellow. And I think now the pinnacle of Corrado affection and I think resale value is probably a yellow manual transmission VR6, if you can find one. So there you go. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we talk to Greg Clark of Ineos America. Stick around.
Questions or comments?
Drop us a line at carstuff@consumerguide.com.
That's carstuff@consumerguide.com. Welcome back to the Car Stuff Podcast.
Okay, we're back. This is the Car Stuff Podcast. I'm Tom. She's Jill. Jill, how's it going?
I'm having a mimosa donut right now.
How is that?
It tastes like oranges.
Huh. I guess that's right.
I don't know how I feel about it.
Does it
it's
taste...
not what I was expecting.
Is there any champagne activity there?
There is absolutely no effervescence whatsoever.
So it's just sort of an orange donut?
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's 2 of those.
Yeah.
We have 6 donuts. You've got a lot of work to do.
I think I'm having 1 donut and producer Randy gets the rest.
Randy should try the... save me just a little chunk of mimosa. I think that's all I'm going to need.
Yeah, it's... weird.
Okay. I don't want to take a lot of time on this today, but I'm on Twitter.
You are.
I did some good car spotting over the weekend, and that is #CarSpotter. I found these are very rare because they're all gone, and I think they just dissolved. But a first-generation Dodge Dakota.
Oh, okay.
Which goes back to the mid-'80s.
Yeah.
And actually, part of the reason that I work in the automotive industry at all is because of the Dakota.
Okay.
I got a job in college working for Chrysler as a rep at the Chrysler New Product Information Center. And during my interview, I started asking questions about the Dakota, which was still on the drawing boards. And I super impressed people with the fact that I knew what the Dakota was. Long story short.
Got it.
Yeah, but it's weird to see a first-generation Dakota.
And you posted it on Twitter.
I did.
Okay.
That's the whole... Yes, thank you for yes.
I'm bringing it back to the
Thank
full
you for
circle.
bringing that back.
Got it.
All right. Today we're talking about a topic I really wanted to talk about. This is super exciting. Ineos.
Yes.
I don't think a lot of people know what this is yet. But it is a vehicle startup, and unlike all the other this isn't an EV startup, but like all of the other EV
like all of the other startups that happen to also be EVs.
We keep hearing about their financial situation.
Yes.
That's not going to happen here. And they have a really cool vehicle to talk about. On the phone is Greg Clark. He is the Executive Vice President of Ineos Americas. Greg, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Excited to have this conversation because you guys are basically an all-new car company. You've been around for like 2 years and you're selling vehicles already. Tell us about Ineos and tell us about your product.
That's right. It's probably stranger and more unusual than a solar eclipse. But I guess for those of you listening to the archived recording that happened today, yes, we are a startup. We are somewhat unusual in the fact that we're coming from the 3rd largest petrochemical company in the world. We're a privately held organization. There are 3 main shareholders. One of them, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, founded the business 25 years ago. He now happens to be Britain's wealthiest businessman. So actually, the capital markets and going back to capital or angel investors is not something that we have to do on a quarterly basis. We just have to please Sir Jim.
Well, which is awesome, because if a guy has a vision for what a vehicle should be, and if that's your only goal, then it's probably easier to make that vehicle. So tell us about the Ineos Grenadier.
The Grenadier was born out of an idea, actually hatched in the Grenadier pub in London, its namesake, by Sir Jim and a couple of colleagues that were really lamenting the demise of the original Land Rover Defender, which went out of production, at least for the rest of the world, in 2016.
Okay.
At that point, he was really looking around the marketplace, couldn't find the vehicle that he would want to use, and he uses his vehicles really properly. On safaris, in properties in Africa, drives across Iceland. Sir Jim is really an explorer. He's hiked to both poles, north and south.
Awesome.
And he's really sort of a power user. So he is our sort of 99.9% user of a vehicle like this. The Grenadier started off as a project and a few sketches, and after just as you can imagine, the rudimentary tasks of standing up an entire manufacturing organization and commercial organizations all over the world, we actually started selling the Grenadier last year.
And that is on sale now. And is it on sale now in the United States?
It is. Since just before Thanksgiving of 23, we started sale in the United States across 19 dealers, franchise dealers that we have stood up across the U.S., and we've just launched in Canada in the last 4 weeks.
Okay, that's interesting. So these are franchise dealers. So these are regular brick and mortar dealers. I assume they're probably attached to other luxury makers. Roughly what regions of the U.S. are these in?
Oh, goodness. The best way to see it is to go to ineosgrenadier.com, but we are in 16 states, in 2 provinces now in Canada. We started taking reservations way back in 2021 for the Grenadier. It was a $450 refundable deposit. And at that point, we started to see a massive influx of interest. We have then taken static prototypes and then drivable prototypes across the US and Canada over the course of the last 18 months and amassed an order bank of around 9,000 pre-orders for the Grenadier.
Wow.
We really, in parallel, embarked upon this journey really to find the right dealer partners for us. I have a huge amount of belief in the dealer franchise model because the right dealers can add such a lot of value to the process. Sure. They do a bunch of stuff that manufacturers don't do well. And we've been extremely fortunate to be able to attract and select some fantastic dealers really across the country, from Texas to California to Massachusetts, and we're also in Ontario and British Columbia.
Now, Land Rover, of course, has begun selling something called the Defender again. How is the Ineos Grenadier not like that vehicle?
I think Land Rover is very intentionally, and for all transparency, Land Rover, my former employer, I really worked for Jaguar Land Rover for almost 7 years in the UK, but Land Rover has very intentionally taken a direction of modern luxury, and that in many ways has kind of departed from some of the original grounds that they held, very rugged, very off-road focused. The Grenadier steps in and offers what we think is actually a better balance of incredible off-road capability, but by virtue of the way it's engineered and of a BMW powertrain, offers a lot of on-road suitability and on-road manners as well to be able to do the kind of long highway miles that American drivers and Canadian drivers typically do.
Now, you mentioned BMW. Tell us a little bit about the mechanical bits of the Grenadier.
Grenadier body on frame, so really quite conventional in its makeup. Solid axles, BMW 3-liter straight-six turbocharged powertrain that you'll find and has been used pretty ubiquitously across the BMW portfolio. ZF 8-speed transmission, tried, tested, several 100,000 units in operation. The intention was really to find components that not only package well in a very off-road focused vehicle like the Grenadier, but were the best of the best. We had the ability and a blank sheet of paper and, of course, the funding to be able to go out and find the Recaro seats, the BMW engine, the ZF powertrain, axles made by Carraro, the agricultural manufacturer that make absolutely bulletproof suspension components. We had the ability to do that for the primary focus of creating a vehicle that could do the kind of expeditions that Sir Jim loves to do, but also is very, very viable on road and has the kind of 21st century technology that is useful.
Oh, go ahead, Jill.
I just raised my hand. Tom gets on a roll and just keeps going.
I do that.
But I was just wondering, right now you are a one vehicle brand. Are there plans to bring out other other versions of the Grenadier or other models that would be in the Ineos lineup?
Yes, there are, absolutely, because, really supporting a car company and the purchase of a manufacturing facility. We purchased from Mercedes-Benz in 2021 a manufacturing facility on the French-German border. All of that requires payback, and it requires a commercial operation. And so Jim would look at this very much like any one of his other 35 businesses to say this has to be commercially viable. So if this podcast were being held in 2 days' time, we would have announced the Quartermaster pickup, so double cab pickup derivative of the Grenadier. And very recently, we've announced our third model line, which is named the Fusilier, which will be an all-electric, but with a choice of powertrains, both battery electric, full BEV, but also with a range extender option, which is an onboard generator effectively that powers and charges on the go.
Excellent. So, Greg, talk a little bit about the audience for this vehicle, and if you can, talk about sales expectations. I know a lot of people don't like to talk sales volume, but what have you sold so far? Who was the audience for this, and who do you think are buying these vehicles?
Yeah, I guess taking that in reverse order, we've since Thanksgiving last year, we've delivered more than 3,000 vehicles to our dealers.
Congratulations.
So, thank you. It's been a relatively sleepless 6, 12, 18 months, but we've achieved a huge amount in partnership with our dealers in the last 4 months now. Who is the audience? Well, I think North America represents a massive opportunity for a vehicle like the Grenadier, not only because of the wide open spaces and the use cases, but also because of the propensity to buy these kind of SUV products. There's massive and really respectable competition in terms of, Bronco, Wrangler, 4Runner, Land Cruiser now, which is recently repositioned, all the way up to G-Wagon. And coincidentally, Magna Steyr, who are the engineers and manufacturers of the G-Wagon from year dot, are also the principal engineers for the Grenadier. So we have a lot in common there. The audience is one, at least the initial buyer we found is one that actually will go and use the Grenadier off-road. Maybe not all the time, but weekends, week-long trips, getaways, whether it be hiking, hunting, shooting, fishing, or just generally overlanding and off-roading. We found a very, very enthusiastic customer that has been looking for something like this in the marketplace without buying something and then throwing another 40 or 50,000 in aftermarket accessories at it.
I have been admiring pictures. I was at the website today before we talked, and I've been admiring pictures of the Grenadier and pictures online. I don't know if they're official of the Quartermaster, but you guys have done a great job with styling, and it is at once sort of an homage to Land Rover, but you've done a little bit more with it. Can you talk about that design and where you're going with that?
Yeah, I think Sir Jim has called this kind of the greatest hits of every vehicle that he has experienced, known, loved, used. Anything from the Willys Jeep to the original Defender to an FJ to a G-Wagon. He's really wanted to sort of take a blank sheet, but with significant inspiration from those that came before it. Quartermaster is an evolution of that, clearly with more utilitarian ideas in mind. Mm-hmm. The vehicle has a 12-inch longer wheelbase. It's about 21 inches longer overall versus the station wagon, the SUV. Internally, we call it station wagon, but we recognize that connotes kind of Clark Griswold imagery. It's not that, but very much the Quartermaster offers another model line and something for those people that really love to buy pickups.
Can you talk a little bit about the product lineup and pricing?
Yes, the station wagon, when we launched it, started at $71,500 for what we call the base version. There are two pre-configured, kind of two sides of the same coin, Bellstaff editions. One is the Fieldmaster, which is more suburban, more sort of comforts and luxury orientation. And the other one is called the Trialmaster, triple locking differentials, raised air intake, washout interior, more sort of for the hardcore explorer off-roader. So those are $79,190, so $71,500 and then $79,190. But honestly, you can configure it pretty much however you like. It is very difficult, though, to get into six figures with even with fully loaded. So we feel that is an awful lot of capability and a lot of vehicle for the money.
So those are in the product lineup right now, and if someone wanted to, they can find a dealer and buy one of those this week. The Quartermaster, when does that come online?
Quartermaster will be released, at least the information will be released on April 10th. The vehicle will launch in the late third quarter, I would say actually fourth quarter by the time all the importation is done and we start delivering. We are still working our way through pre-orders at the moment. We have a lot of pre-orders, as I mentioned, that we have been faithfully delivering. As part of that, we have delivered a few stock items and vehicles to dealers for those people that wanted instant gratification. But by and large, the 90% we're going through pre-orders now.
Excellent. So you are Vice President of Ineos of the Americas. These are on sale in Canada and Mexico as well?
US and Canada, yes. We will launch in Mexico by late fourth quarter, early first quarter of 2025. And then as appropriate and as I think market dictates, we'll probably move into some of the Central and South American markets eventually. But our focus is very much on US, Canada, Mexico right now.
And I'm sure global conquest is number one in you guys' minds. Where else are you looking to expand to? Western Europe, China?
Well, we actually launched in, 42 other markets before we launched here.
42.
Yeah, we are. And so Jim would certainly anecdotally, and actually quite publicly say we've probably underestimated the scale and the complexity of this. That has not dampened enthusiasm, ambition, or determination. So we're on sale in 45 markets now across the globe. So this has become an extremely real brand and an extremely real commercial entity very, very quickly. Really from an idea 5 or 6 years ago to practical reality, selling in 45 countries today.
I am super impressed. We are so used to hearing about EVs, startups, and startups in general, starting, failing, pausing. And you guys have gone from 0 to 50 nations in about 2 years. That's incredible.
It's somewhat nuts, and it has been extremely exhausting. But I have the privilege of leading the region here in what is, as very quickly, actually, since launch, has become the largest region, and the US being the largest market worldwide for the Grenadier.
That's so cool, Greg. We're almost out of time, but tell us about the Grenadier Pub.
The Grenadier Pub, yes. Actually, was, as you can imagine, all good ideas are hatched over a beer. And this
I
one
believe
was,
that's true.
The Grenadier. Actually, in fairness, it was probably a gin and tonic. But nevertheless, it is a very stereotypically British, actually very stereotypically London pub in Belgravia. Is well worth a visit. It has an awful lot of charm. It was a former officers' mess once upon a time.
Awesome.
Hence the name, the Grenadier. The idea was hatched there. We had all kinds of names that we were going to name the vehicle. We actually went out to our original base of hand raisers and say, hey, what do you think we should call it? And they loved the Grenadier story so much that they elected that the vehicle should be called the Grenadier, and the rest is history.
I love that a 2-year-old brand has charm to it. That is awesome. Greg, we've run out of time. Remind us again, where can we go to check out the vehicle and perhaps order one?
www.ineosgrenadier.com.
Greg, thank you so much for your time today.
Jill, thank you very much for yours. Jill, I think you were oversold on the mimosa donuts if it just tasted like oranges.
I was 100% oversold on the mimosa donut. I'd much rather be having a gin and tonic donut.
Yeah, hopefully that would live up to it. I'm going to get right on that. But thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. All right, that was Greg Clark with Ineos. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, it's quiz time. Stick around.
Questions or comments?
Drop us a line at carstuff@consumerguide.com.
That's carstuff@consumerguide.com. Welcome back to the Car Stuff Podcast.
All right, we're back. This is the Car Stuff Podcast. I'm Tom. She is Jill, and we have mimosa donuts. Producer Randy just stepped out, looked at the mimosa donut, and then passed.
He did. Although you did say if it was called a Tang donut,
yeah,
that would be so much better.
Yeah, and I would probably eat that then.
Yeah.
Tang being super artificial.
Yeah.
Which is, speaking of artificial, I did a poll, an unofficial poll on Facebook.
Okay.
Tootsie Pops.
Okay.
Of the 5 key Tootsie Pop flavors, what's your favorite?
Is there a cherry?
Yeah.
It would have to be cherry.
Yeah, me too.
Totally
but cherry wasn't, people didn't seem to love the cherry. So I'm a cherry, then orange, raspberry grape kind of a tie. I don't really love
I'd be
either.
like cherry grape.
And the chocolate are just lame. They're fine.
Yeah, chocolate is stupid.
Yeah, but it's like eating a Tootsie Roll.
Yeah.
There's no pop element to it.
No.
All right. You do social media stuff.
I do social media stuff.
If I recall from past episodes.
Yes. I do all the social media stuff. So TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Post, Threads. I think that covers the gamut. But you can find me at Jill Ciminillo. So my full name, JILLCIMINILLO. And I use the hashtag car du jour. So like soup du jour, but car du jour.
I've mentioned this before. Every time I hear car du jour, I think soup du jour.
Right.
And when I think soup du jour, I think French onion soup.
Yes, 100%.
and being vegetarian, I don't get French onion soup very often. But because it's almost always made with chicken stock.
Oh, interesting.
But a dang toasted giant crouton covered in cheese, floating in onion soup, that's good stuff.
Yeah, and I'm the lame person who doesn't really eat a lot of gluten or dairy, and so, like, I'll go in and I'll be like, can I have your French onion soup with just, the soup part, but not the floating crouton with cheese?
That's on you. I have a soup story, and it's about a guy. We'll let him tell the story later. I'm not going to identify him, but he's going to be on the show in the next month or so. Went to a restaurant with him. Fussy eater. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Oh, I know.
You said fussy eater, and I'm like, yep, I know who that is.
They had cream of potato soup the day we were there.
Okay.
He sent it back because they crumbled a couple of chives on it.
Oh, good God.
I'm like, just pick the chives are awesome.
Take the spoon, and but he doesn't like green things.
He's from, I don't mean to say anything disparaging about this state, but he's from Wisconsin.
I think you're very disparaging there.
Wisconsin they get weird about stuff. Right, they're into weird cocktails, and
okay, you're talking about Chicago, which drinks Malort.
Malort's a really new thing, though.
Ugh.
Relatively new. I mean, I realize there's a whole generation that was weaned and puked on Malort, but also it's not that bad.
I'm just saying.
Malort's not that bad.
Yeah.
3 a.m, Jägermeister. That's your challenge.
I like Jägermeister.
I do too.
Yeah.
It should be cold.
Yes.
Also, and I've talked about this before, hi, Mom and Dad. My parents used to give me Jägermeister like it was Robitussin.
Oh, my dad would give me Anisette, which is a similar, it's got the licoricey flavor, but it's green.
Yeah. So there you go. Yeah, and we're alive.
We are 100% alive.
So I don't want to hear about Malort.
Mostly functioning humans.
All right, I have a quiz for you today that is vaguely eclipse related.
Okay.
The quiz is, are you ready?
Okay.
Mitsubishi or Golf Club?
I see your vagueness there.
But there was a Mitsubishi Eclipse.
There was. That's where your vagarity is.
Yeah.
So completely random aside, before you start your quiz, you know Ed Kim, right?
What's that?
Ed Kim?
Yes.
He's been on the show before.
He's been on the show.
Auto Pacific.
Yeah,
and
good guy.
He posted a picture today of a Mitsubishi Eclipse that had something dropped on it, and he's like, a total eclipse. Okay, sorry.
All right.
Now for your quiz.
I'm going to give you a proper noun, a name of something. You have to tell me if it was a Mitsubishi model sold in the United States or if it is a golf club, a putter specifically currently on sale in the U.S.
So this would be a quiz for my husband, and he is going to laugh at me when I get all of the golf club ones wrong.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how this goes. Are you ready?
I'm totally ready.
Number 1, Tradia. T-R-E-D-I-A. Tradia.
Spell that again?
Tradia. T-R-D-I-A.
Wait, T-R-D? Mm-hmm. Okay.
I-A.
I-A?
Mm-hmm. Tradia. Was that a Mitsubishi model sold in the U.S. at some point, or is it a golf club you can buy right now?
I think it's a golf club.
It's a Mitsubishi model.
Interesting.
Yeah,
They're missing some vowels.
Sold between 1982 and 1990. The Tradia.
Okay.
Was a 3-door coupe about the size of a Civic, and it gave me great pain, literally, when I worked at a gas station, because these were among the first turbos to be sold in volume.
Okay.
And the first Mitsubishis to be sold in the U.S. in volume that weren't sold under Dodge or Plymouth monikers.
Okay.
But the turbo was really large and exposed and in the way of the oil filter, and I'd have to wrap my hand in towels so that I could reach the oil filter to do an oil change. Anyway, you have no points.
No, I have no points. Your favorite phrase.
Cordia was a Mitsubishi. What about Tradia was? What about Cordia?
Did you just give me the answer?
I don't think I did.
Okay.
If you think I did, run with it.
Yeah. I have no idea. I'll go with golf club again.
Nope, that one is also a Mitsubishi.
So you did give me the answer.
Yeah, the Cordia was also roughly the same years, but that was the 4-door sedan.
Okay.
So there you have it. That's 2 Mitsubishis. You have new point. What about the Grand Sport? Golf club or Mitsubishi?
Okay, I'm going to say, I feel like that should be a Mitsubishi, but that's probably a golf club.
That doesn't feel like an answer.
It is not an answer. I'm having a moment in my head where have you seen the movie The Princess Bride?
Not in a very, very long time.
But Vicini, and he's reasoning why who has the iocane powder and he's going to die, and he's talking about a land war in Asia. That's going through my head at this moment as I'm trying to reason.
That movie, for some reason, some generation latched onto it. I did not. It's a good movie.
I think it must have been my generation that latched onto it. I love it.
Okay.
It's my favorite movie. Okay.
That's your favorite movie?
It is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And actually, it's a really good book, too. I read it. It's an actual book.
Grand Sport.
Grand Sport,
Yeah.
I know. Dodging. Grand Sport. How very appropriate for the music.
You were on such a run.
I know.
Gonna need an answer here.
I know.
Oh, yep.
I'll say Mitsubishi.
No, that's a golf club. Produced by Cobra King. $349.
All right.
You're in trouble now.
I am losing this one big
you
time.
need to go all the way out. The Phantom X.
I'm going to say that's a golf club.
It is a golf club from
Okay.
Scotty Cameron. $429 for a putter. This is why I don't
Say that
golf.
again?
$429 for a putter. Scotty Cameron brand. All right, you've got 1 point. You need to get the next two right.
I bought a set of golf clubs, or let me clarify. My husband bought me a set of golf clubs. They are junior clubs because I'm 5 feet tall, which means they're kids clubs. I think the whole set was like $200. Yeah, sad. But go ahead.
Okay, Sigma. S-I-G-M-A, Greek letter, Sigma. Was it a Mitsubishi model or...
I'm going to say golf club.
Mitsubishi model. Yeah, 1989 to 1990. There's a lot of good stuff going on with that name. It was the Galant Sigma for a while, but it was a largish mid-size sedan, a little bit along the lines of a Cressida or a Maxima at the time.
Okay, I'm like, Maxima I've heard of, Cressida I have not.
Cressida was kind of a premium Toyota.
Okay.
Inline six-cylinder engine, kind of a luxurious car. Really sought after now. Beloved in the day.
Beloved.
All right, you just got the 1 point there.
Yeah, I know. Like I told you, the golf club is not my thing, and Mitsubishi, like, really before my time. Because now they just have the Outlander and the Outlander Sport.
All right, I've got one for you here. I got this from a bunch of sources that all agreed, but I think that the formula here is pretty much locked in. I need you to tell me which of the following.
Okay.
Bonus question. Which of the following is not an ingredient on a typical Chicago-style hot dog? Are you ready?
Ketchup.
Ketchup's not on the list. I wouldn't have done that.
That would have been way too easy.
Nah, I don't even want to get involved in that controversy.
Okay.
You know what? But I have a theory on it.
Okay.
Have you had a Chicago-style hot dog?
Yes.
It's just bright and cheery and snappy.
It is.
And
just like Chicago.
Yeah, and ketchup would just kind of muddle that a little bit. Yeah.
And it just tastes bad.
Yeah, you've got this salad on a bun thing going on. Why drown it in some weird sauce?
Yes.
That's it. And I've done ketchup on a hot dog. It's fine. I don't think it makes it better. Yeah, I don't have a strong reaction.
Very cringy.
All right, ready?
Yeah.
Mustard, neon green relish, tomato wedge, dill spear, sport pepper, celery salt, chopped red onion.
Ooh.
One of those is wrong.
I know the celery salt is for real. The bright green relish also for real. I believe the tomato wedges might be. Read the other ingredients again.
Mustard, relish, tomato wedge, dill spear, sport pepper, celery salt, chopped red onion.
I feel like maybe the chopped red onion would be incorrect.
That is incorrect. It's chopped white onion.
Yeah.
Very nice.
I'm like, no red onion. Although I will say when I eat hot dogs, which I rarely do, I only do it when I'm at a baseball game, I do mustard and onions.
I am finding a lot of controversy surrounding poppy seed bun or not poppy seed bun. And about if it has to be a Vienna all-beef hot dog.
It kind of has to be Vienna, I think.
Superdog, which never claims that the Superdog is a Chicago-style hot dog. They use a Sinai 48 kosher dog.
Okay.
And no celery salt. And they use their own proprietary peppers.
Okay.
Which kill.
All right.
They kill. All right, very nice. No, you didn't
Not
win.
nice.
Yeah.
I got the bonus question.
So I wanted to talk about a vehicle.
You did want to talk about a vehicle.
And we could talk about it now. We've got 8 minutes.
We got
7
a couple
minutes.
minutes here.
Yeah. I'm driving the Sierra.
Yes.
GMC Sierra.
Yes.
AT4X.
Yes.
So that's their off-roady luxury
Yes.
version of the Sierra.
Yes.
Crew cab, short bed, which is like almost everything they sell now.
Yeah.
With the diesel engine. And this is interesting because Ford and Ram have done away with their diesel engine.
Yeah.
So Chevy and GMC, you can still get it in a Cadillac Escalade too, and a GMC Yukon. The last one's left to have the inline 6-cylinder diesel engine.
Yeah.
That engine is so good.
It really is.
It is so good. It is shockingly quiet. I forgot I was driving a diesel. And this, I know you can't have a reasonable conversation about stop-start systems.
No.
But this is a really good stop-start system. And I've never really thought about stop-start systems applied to diesel engines, but it works. But here's the deal. Been driving it around town. I have not been babying it. I'm getting 23 miles to the gallon.
Yeah. I mean, that is the beauty of diesel. I mean, I feel like I even was getting in the 20s when I've driven the diesel engines for the pickup trucks, and that in Chicago, where there's a stop sign on every corner. So the diesel and GM's diesel engine is really good.
It's super good. I wanted to talk about something else too. We talked a little bit about this before we went on air, and that's the fact that this is the AT4X, which means it should have the nicest interior you can get. There is the Denali X.
Well, the Denali Ultimate.
Ultimate, thank you.
Yeah.
But this is an $88,000 vehicle, and it has a very nice interior. But I get the sense that GM is punting on interiors. Like they are not going fully Ford Platinum Limited.
Premium top tier, yeah.
Yeah, and they're not going Ram. Certainly not Ram Tungsten, which is a new high trim level on the Ram. And I think that that's okay. I think that if you were looking at this car, you saw it was $88,000 and you saw this interior, you'd be like, yeah, that's fine. It's not as good as those other ones, but it's really good.
Well, one of the big differentiators, too, I think, between General Motors interiors and then the Ford and the Ram truck interiors is the screen is horizontal, not vertical. And I think both Ram and Ford have the vertical screens now in their trucks. And I don't mind the vertical screen, but I feel like GM does a much better job of integrating the screen into the overall design of the dash.
Yeah, it is integrated.
Yeah, and that's what I like. But I mean the Ram screen is integrated, but it's just vertical, and it just looks a little bit jarring to me in the vertical stack position.
The Ram almost isn't integrated. It's like a large thing that's placed on the console. The console is actually elevated above where it would be if there weren't.
Ford is definitely like a iPad tacked on top.
It's a tablet.
But it was funny because Tim and we do a regular live stream podcast.
Yeah, Tim, your boss at Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk.
And it's called Talkin' Trucks, and with the Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk podcast. And we were looking at the interiors of all of the full-size trucks right now, and we literally popped them up one after the other. And when you look at them right back to back to back to back, like Tim was like, "What's your favorite?" And I said, "Actually, the General Motors one." Interesting,
because I liked it a lot too. One of the things too that I like in terms of being integrated and being horizontally aligned is that, as you know, I listen to a lot of music, and one of the fun things that they do is they use about 2/3 of the screen, maybe a little bit less than 2/3, for the sort of letterbox information about what you're listening to. And then to the right, they have this digital analog clock. I'm like, that's a nice use of that space, actually. Otherwise, it would go unused. You don't need all that space to tell me who the performer is or what year the album was released.
Well, and I feel like, can't you flip through some different options?
Yes.
It's not just the clock. It could be something else.
I think you can get a map there. You can get a lot of stuff
Weather,
there.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. You can also usually, in a lot of vehicles, get what you're listening to in the instrument panel between the tachometer and the speedometer. The tachometer, the thing no one needs anymore.
That would be true.
All right, guess what we did?
We talked a lot.
Yes, well, you did.
You did. You talked more.
Babble.
Blah, blah, blah. Mimosa donut.
Oh, my car is green.
It is. It's pretty green.
All right, big thanks to, I lost his name, Greg Clark.
Yes.
Of Ineos for joining us today. Very cool to have him. And I look forward to talking about the Quartermaster when we know more about that.
Yes.
Thank you, Jill. Thank you to producer Randy and the good folks here at TalkZone. Let's talk more about cars again.
Next week.
Remember to check us out at consumerguide.com.
The Car Stuff Podcast is produced by J-Turn Media.
To advertise on the show, please drop us a line at carstuff@consumerguide.com.